Good morning. I am in training, IFS training in Dehradun. Today we are with Ramya. She has cleared CSE 2019 and she is right now in training. In this interview, we are going to speak with her about her journey of preparation, the struggles she went through, and the motivation factor, what she had, as well as the preparation strategy, what she had for your prelims, mains, as well as the optional. Welcome, Ramya.
Hi.
If you could give a short introduction about yourself, your background, it would be good.
So I am from engineering background. My name is Ramya, and I had a prior 2 years experience with software. And after that, I started preparing for civil services, and this was my eighth attempt, and I cleared both civil services as well as Indian Forest Service in this attempt.
Yes. So you're basically from an engineering background. So how come this thought of giving civil service came to you? Because in the last few years, majority of them are coming from engineering background. So how come this thought came to you?
So it was it was like a childhood dream only because both my parents were working in government services. So they had like this is the thing that I should achieve and something like that. They put that thought inside me.
Okay.
But after studying engineering, after graduation, I really didn't want to exert myself too much. So and because of family situations, I had to go for a job also. So after 2 years, one of my friends, another friend, a colleague, he started preparing for civil services, and I thought like I should also give it a try, and I started preparing in 2012.
Okay. So in this long years of preparation, what was your motivating factor? What helped you go through all this? Because for many of them are going through the same thing, and some of them are not able to sustain that longer, and some of them are getting other jobs and settling down. Because we aim higher, and then in between you are not able to sustain. So what helped you in that years of journey?
So my job experience in software was, and the prior job experience was one sort of like I didn't come right after graduation.
Okay.
So it itself instilled me in some sort of confidence that I can get a job anytime I want.
Okay.
But in 13 itself, I went to the interview stage, and again in 14, I went to the interview stage. So those two consecutive successes till the interview stage gave some sort of confidence and in myself as well as to my parents and my sisters who were supporting me all throughout.
Okay.
So they provided like both emotional as well as financial support. Everything was provided by them.
Okay.
And so after that, I thought like after tasting till the interview stage, I felt like it's very easy. But then in 15, 16, I couldn't clear prelims. So that was a sort of like eye opener for me. Like this exam is not what we think. So during that time, I tried to like rather than like sulking in your failures, I thought like I should do something else. So I enrolled myself in an NGO, and I was working on weekends. So when you face real problems of life, your problems they become very small. So that is what I felt like the NGO was in like it instilled a confidence in me that you can be the change in the society if you want to be. It need not be you need no validation from the examination that you want to do some change. So that was the first thing. And after that, again 17, I went till the interview stage, and again I couldn't clear because of 8 marks. So that was like like the lowest point in my life.
Okay.
But then after that, I started teaching. I started mentoring other civil service aspirants, and during that time, one of my students suggested like there is a prereq opportunity, like fellowship opportunity in the government. So he suggested, and I applied just like that, and I got into a fellowship, which was like that provided an ideal vantage point for me to observe how things work in the government, as well as how what citizens expect from the government and everything. So that instilled a lot of confidence in me. So I felt like that gave me the motivation to work even more.
Okay.
And that's how I sustained myself. Financial support, I used to take up some odd jobs in between, and I had that pocket money, but whatever I wanted, it was like my parents were there, my sisters were there, they were younger sisters, and despite that they supported me a lot.
Okay.
So both financially as well as mentally and everything, and I had a good set of friends, I should say.
Okay, so friends and family played a major part in your preparation. Okay, and one more thing is I want to ask about the day when the results came. Okay, because that is one day we never forget in life. Okay, so first your chorus result came.
Yeah.
So and then your civils result came. So what was the who were there in the house? What was your emotion at that time? How you felt when you heard that your name is in the list and you were getting into IAS?
So I would say that the most, the result day which made a good impact in my life was Forest Service results first.
Okay.
And to be like, it was some sort of, it was, I had my civils interview on March 2nd.
Okay.
And I had some certain issues in my medical, so I had to come on March 4th also for appearing in the medical.
Okay.
And that time they told me like because of my some sort of issues, I had to come 1 month later.
Okay.
So I felt like it was really demotivating for me. I felt like this shouldn't have happened.
Okay.
I've come all the way 8 years, and again they're asking me to come, and it'll cost a lot more
Okay.
to come to the interview, and I don't have a job. I wasn't having a job at that time, so I had to depend on my parents again. So it was like I was literally crying
Okay.
in the auto while going back to the Tamil Nadu Bhavan.
Okay.
But once I got from there and I went to the airport, that was the time when my results came
Oh.
for Forest Service. And like after my civils interview, my Forest results came, and that is the first time I'm seeing my name on the list.
Okay.
And it really made me feel, like out of the moon, and I felt so happy on that day, and my parents were so happy, and like it felt like something has paid off finally.
Okay.
And after that sort of depression and you getting your name in the list, it was really ecstatic. And so because of this my civil services result day was little underplay because I already seen my name in the list.
Okay.
But civil services also, I guess you were the first one to call me.
Yeah.
So I had this kind of superstition that only my sister should see the result, and only then I will clear.
Okay.
So I had sent the PDF to her, and she was about to call me, but before that you called me and told me congratulations.
Yeah.
But even then I didn't know my rank or anything. So after some time sister called me and told like, why you've got 186 rank. And when I told others, they said like, yes, I will get into IAS this time.
Now, what was your parents' reaction? Everyone was at home, or how was that day?
Yeah, they were very happy, like literally happy. And now they could, all these years, like there were talks of marriage. They had to, face that societal pressure also, and they shouldn't show it on me also. So all those things were there, but now they could answer, with proud, like, yeah, finally my daughter has achieved. So that was really
That's very essential because in a society, lots of pressure will be especially. Okay. And coming to the interview, how was your interviews you faced, and what issues you faced in the interview, starting from the first interview? Because majority of them are going because prelims and mains is just writing.
Yes.
And in interview, actually, you are sitting and speaking in front of 6 board members and more experienced person. So, what were the issues you faced, or what was your experience?
So in my first interview, I was pretty naive. I was just out of software, and I felt like and I got Manvi Singh's sir's board, and they tried to make me very comfortable. They asked me very simple questions,
Okay.
and I felt like very good during that interview. But marks were very average because I myself knew like I couldn't answer a lot of questions, and I wasn't answering with that much confidence.
Okay.
Also because since it was my first interview facing a lot of people in the panel, so it was a little. I wasn't that confident in my first interview.
Okay.
But again, in the second interview also, like they started asking questions on engineering, which I wasn't that much comfortable during that time because there was a gap of 5 years between my graduation and this thing, and I couldn't tell that in the interview panel.
Okay.
So because of that, I started fumbling and I lost my cool during the interview itself, and because of that, I wasn't able to answer questions which I knew.
Okay.
So these things happened, and I scored very, very badly in that interview, and because of that, I couldn't make it to the list.
Okay.
So that was the time when I took the interview very lightly because of my first interview experience. And during my third interview, again, I wasn't that confident because the gap between my job and my graduation had become quite big, and I hadn't done anything that I could put on my DAF also.
Okay.
So that was also not giving me that much confidence, and my voice also was low and everything. But for the fourth interview, which I went, I decided like, I'm going to do it whatever it takes. I'm going to give it whatever it takes, and I already had a Prerak experience, and that added some value to my in my profile.
Yeah.
And so in my fourth interview, the Prerak experience had added some sort of value into my profile, and I decided like I should give whatever it takes.
Okay.
And I also went with a job offer at hand. From a private institution, so that I thought like it will give me that confidence in that.
Okay.
And in my fourth interview, I wanted some sort of a member who will give that much pressure onto me so that I will perform my best. I didn't want someone who will make me comfortable and all those things.
Okay.
And it worked out well, and I was really confident. And in fact, I heard one very good motivating song just before going into the interview. So all those things, help me a lot.
Okay, that is very good to hear. So coming to the strategy part, so what was your prelim strategy? How for the new beginners, if you have to tell, what will be your brief outline, and then what exact books you followed? Because nowadays there is no dearth of information, because it's a lot of materials are available online. What you have followed online sources or offline? What was your method of preparation, and what was your strategy for prelims? Simple strategy, books you followed.
Prelims was the scariest point of me, because every time I wrote mains, I went to the interview stage. But prelims was like I couldn't clear prelims 15, 16 and 18. So it was my scariest part of the whole process. And by the last attempt, I had figured out that it's all about 50 questions. 50% of it is about studying, and 50% is about making intelligent guesses. And for that, to make that intelligent guesses, you have to be very confident. And what gives you that confidence is just standard NCERT books and standard reference books for polity, economy, and environment, and previous year questions. Previous year questions gives you the basics, guides you how to attempt, make intelligent guesses, find the hints and everything. But it might go wrong also, those hints and the intelligent guesses. But you have to have the confidence. Okay, you are doing it right, because all your preparation will never go waste. So whatever you study, it is like that. And for current affairs part, rather than investing too much into like studying, mugging up facts, it will be better if you can just read a newspaper for 1 hour, which I wasn't able to do. So I ended up studying monthly current affairs, but I just used to have a glance rather than mugging it up and everything. Just read a glance, just know that this is what happened and this is what it is. Because civil service, in the prelims, they never go into detailed facts. Even if they're giving facts, it will be based on just a mere logic only. So if you had figured out that, then it will be better. And also number of attempts also matter, like number of attempts, your questions you attempt. So for me, the golden number was 85. So every time I gave something less than that, I couldn't clear prelims by 1 or 2 marks. So I knew that only 85 marks, 85 questions I have to attend. So that is the thing that you have to find out based on your own,
solving questions.
Solving questions.
Did mock test help you in any way, or how many mock tests you were? Means number of tests approximately, because usually people are writing one test per week, something like that. So did you give more number of mock tests, or did it help in any way?
I'm not a mock test type of person. Previous year questions only. If at all I had read some questions, it would be mostly of current affairs, so that if I had missed out something in the monthly current affairs, I would have read that. So only that, and I'm not a I have never given proper test. Even if I attempt, I'll just go attempt one test, and then after that I won't go. So I'm like that.
And coming to our mains preparation is a vast preparation compared to the prelims, even the next level of preparation. So how did you do your mains preparation? Like, there are standard sources which are available. Coming to the writing part, again the test series part. So where are you taking regularly tests, or you are writing on your own? Some are nowadays they are coming up with daily answer writing and all that. So in what way answer writing helped you, or what method you followed for mains answer writing?
So again, here also I'm not a mock test type of person. I've never, even if I had given it, would be hardly 1 or 2 papers in all these 8 years. So that is my kind of preparation. And since right from childhood I'm interested in writing and expressing myself, so I did not need that much practice, and I write quite fast also. Like sometimes I had even 15 minutes to spare during the exam itself. So I'm like that, and I used black pen and everything, to highlight the thing, so that it is just making it easy for the examiner. So that sort of this thing. And while answering the questions, it's all about you have this structure. You're making it easy for the examiner. So you just write why this question was asked in the first place. You would have read somewhere in the current affairs part. Just write one point, and then again you break down into structure. If you're having a lot of points, you might not structure it properly for the examiner. So you will write one important point in the starting and one important in the later. So just structure it like, for if you're not getting any subheadings, just write socio-economic, political, and just try to structure your answer and write it. In conclusion, obviously you would have some sort of initiative or something in the government which is already done. So you just write that, and then you it is just a starting point, right, a step in the right direction, long way to go. Just mention a few points where you could improve on, and that's the conclusion. And the NCERT will help you very much in understanding what is required in the answer writing process. And one more thing is that GS 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not like, GS 1 current affairs, GS 2 current affairs, nothing like that. You just read the newspaper, just read one point and then make use of that one point in almost all the paper. That is how you're supposed to work, because the syllabus is everything under the sun. You cannot cover. If someone comes and tells you that, I've covered the syllabus, I used to laugh on me, because it is not possible. Syllabus is everything. They can ask anything. So you just have to have the confidence that you've read something and you will use it in any paper you want. So that is.
Yes, and one more thing in mains answer writing. If you are coming across an unknown question, like in paper 3 they are asking from science and tech, completely unknown question. So how will you? What was your approach, or how would you go about it?
So till 2017, I used to leave out those questions because I felt like if you're not doing anything, you're just bluffing around and it doesn't go well with the examiner. But when I lost by 8 marks, I realized, like even half mark matters. So for the 19th attempt, I wrote everything, whether I know or not. But I don't bluff around too much. I just write, whatever I knew about the topic for 1 or 2 lines. And if I don't know anything more than that, I used to just strike out that page. So it was not like, you write 2 pages for something about you don't know. So that would really irritate the examiner. Just write, few points at least, whatever you knew, so that he will just give you half mark or 1 mark, and even that matters.
Makes a difference, yes. And coming to your optional subject, your optional is public administration. Yes. So how you are from engineering background, but you have not chosen from engineering optional. So how this public administration thing got into your mind, and what was your strategy for public administration?
So when I started my preparation, I was asked to choose an optional. So that time I just went through the syllabus and I found Maslow's theory was there, Elton Mayo was there. These thinkers I've read about them in Principles of Management in Engineering. So I thought it will be similar to that, and I took that. But only then I came to know that it was just one unit in that whole public administration. But then I had started liking it. The plus as well as the negative of public administration is that you need not. The questions that are asked will be totally out of syllabus. So everything will be out of syllabus. If you have read something and if you expect that only from whatever you have read questions will be asked, no. So that gave me, an option to you can express yourself. So it's more based on your understanding of how things work, and every time you have to give some practical examples also. So the first 3 attempts in my mains attempts, I wasn't giving that much examples. And paper 1 I used to score very less. But then I started, understanding the strategy. So for paper 1, I wrote about the thinkers, I gave examples. And in the paper 2 also, I wrote about thinkers, I mentioned the thinkers while they were asking about practical examples. So I used that cross strategy, and I guess it worked for me.
Okay. And can you give some list of reference books, like what you use in public optional? Means there are for material there is no, even for optional there are number of material, number of theses, everything. What worked out for you, or what you felt comfortable studying for optional subject? Some few books if you could mention.
So I have been preparing for 8 years, so my books vary from even specific to general also. But one book which really helped me in my 3rd and 4th attempt is Aribam. So Aribam was good because it had a gist, it will give you confidence that you've studied something. So rather than going without studying anything, it will give you that if you had finished it first and then revised it just before the examination, you will have some idea what are the thinkers, what have they said and everything. So it will be your starting point. And apart from that, Mohit Bhattacharya is a very good book. And for comparative public administration also, there's a very small book which I referred, and I even studied it during the process. But it was accumulated study rather than listening. And public administration, you just need to know what is said by the thinkers, and after that you need to know current affairs. So obviously it got covered everywhere. So you can write anything, even if you have read only GS and you have read only about the thinkers, then you can give public administration with confidence.
Okay. And you are more of a writing person. You write poems and all that. So for those who are not much into literature or writing, how difficult is this, or to what level they have to come up themselves in writing for mains especially, or what suggestions you would give for them, those who are writing mains and not much into writing literature in general?
So it's basically in what mode or in what language you're able to express yourself. The examiner is not going to see your personality, so he would hardly have any idea about you. So in those words only he's going to see you. So if you're comfortable with English, then go for English. If you're not comfortable with English, then you should go for your regional language, whichever you're comfortable in. And secondly, if you're comfortable in English but you cannot write that fast, then you should probably start thinking in English. What most of us do is you think in your mother tongue and then and try to convert it. And during the examination hall, at the examination hall, it will cause some delay. So you won't be able to finish the paper. So you should start thinking in English.
Okay.
And you should like whenever you're given some sort of like, this is the exercise that I used to suggest. If I'm giving you a topic, you should come up with some 5 subheadings immediately.
Okay.
Like you should tell those 5 subheadings immediately, and it shouldn't be points. I don't want points, just subheadings. So once you get into the subheadings, then you will know what to write inside.
Okay.
If you are going for points, then you are missing out. You will write only points there. So thinking points is very difficult, but think subheadings, and then it will be very easy for you. So you have to complete the paper. So that is one thing that worked.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ramya. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank you so much. Thank you.